What does A View to a Kill mean? Don't ask me, please. I'm still trying to figure out what Duran Duran means. Welcome back to the Countdown to Bond 25 here on Thumb Together. I'm Andrew Fantasia, and today's film is A View to a Kill, released in June of 1985. A View to a Kill is the final of 7 movies starring the longtime record holder James Bond, Mr. Roger Moore. The plot of A View to a Kill is absolutely silly because this was a 1985 James Bond film. The villain is trying to sell these magnetic microchips because something with being part Nazi, and the way he tries to do this is he decides he is going to cause an earthquake in Silicon Valley, flooding all of the microchip companies there so that he will hold the monopoly. Apparently, somebody forgot to tell him that Silicon Valley only sells the microchips, they don't make them. That happens in China. So he's damned if he does and damned if he don't. The song A View to a Kill, which was a #1 smash hit banger, was sung by Duran Duran, arguably the most popular Britpop band of the 80s. I think it was a really smart choice for them to get Duran Duran in here. It just made sense. You have the most popular British film series, you get the most popular British singers. It adds up. Of course, in the 90s, they did not get the Spice Girls, but maybe that's an argument for another day. There's one weird first in A View to a Kill, and it takes place right at the beginning. It is literally the first shot of the film, which is a disclaimer. It's a disclaimer assuring audiences and, more importantly, lawyers around the world that the main villain, Max Zorin, and his company Zorin Industries are not based on any real-life people or organizations. Just in case we got the wrong idea. A part of me really wished this had happened in other movies. Like, imagine if The Man with a Golden Gun started with them saying, listen guys, don't worry, Scaramanga and Knick-Knack are not real people. The fact that they're not real kind of makes me sad. But this is also a movie of lasts, not just firsts. This is our last film with Roger Moore. Out of 7 movies, this was his final one, and the reason he decided to step down was just because the man was getting old. He was about 57 years old when this movie came out, and apparently he had a conversation on set with Tanya Roberts, his leading lady, and Tanya Roberts just mentioned in passing, hey, you're older than my mom. And when Roger Moore heard that the girl playing his love interest had a mother who was younger than he was, he decided it's probably time for me to step down from this now. And A View to a Kill is also the final appearance of Lois Maxwell, the Canadian actress who has played Miss Moneypenny ever since Dr. No. She is gone after this, folks. We're all gonna miss Moneypenny. She was one of the greats. They replace her with some other actresses, but there's only one Lois Maxwell. The gadgets that James Bond uses in this movie are not really shown off all that well, and he uses them very sparingly, so it was hard to find clips of all of them. But he has 3 main ones. A ring that also doubles as a camera, a sharper image card that is also magnetic and helps him break through locks, and a very weird specific thing that is designed entirely for letting him see what was written in a checkbook by the previous check. Thank God he had that on him. Fiona Fullerton plays the first of our ladies, Paula Ivanova. This character was originally going to have some continuity, because James Bond is always trying to stick the continuity in there, even if it's like seeing a one-legged kid try to ride a bike. They had initially approached Barbara Bach, who had played Agent XXX in The Spy Who Loved Me, since she was a Russian Secret Service agent. They asked her, hey, can you come back for this one role? But she didn't want to, so they created a new character, Paula Ivanova, and Fiona Fullerton played her. And she's not in there for very long, but she works for General Gogol. But she seduces Bond in a hot tub, and there's this whole thing where she's like, I'm going to steal the tape. And he's like, I'm not going to let her steal the tape, because they're spies, you see? There's always an ulterior motive. They can't just have sex to have sex. They gotta have sex with an agenda. And then there's our leading lady, Stacey Sutton, played by the beautiful blonde Tanya Roberts, and she is not the greatest. Yep, she's not. She's just kind of a bland Bond lady who doesn't do much and keeps needing to get rescued. She's an 80s lady. There's really not a whole lot to say about Stacey Sutton. I like her house. When it comes to the villains in A View to a Kill, we can't start with anybody other than our primary antagonist, Max Zorin, a French industrialist who, as the British Minister of Defense puts, could not possibly be an evil man because he is, in fact, a French industrialist. And Max Zorin is played by the one, the only, Christopher Walken. This was the first time I ever saw Christopher Walken in anything, and back then I was only like 7, so I didn't appreciate the Walken-ness of it all. But here he is, Christopher Walken as a Bond villain. It actually happened, and yes, he is as Walken as you could possibly want him to be, while at the same time being a Bond villain. In fact, as most Bond villains do, he gets to have a scene where he laughs evilly, but of course, he doesn't laugh evilly in English. He laughs evilly in Walken. Kind of like this. Ha! Ha ha! That's actually a quote of his from the film. Initially, they offered this role to Sting and David Bowie, and both of them turned it down. And frankly, thank God that they did. Because otherwise, we as a society would have been deprived of Christopher Walken going, ha! Ha ha! While trying to kill James Bond. What a beautiful world we live in. Max Zorin has quite a few henchmen under his belt because he is a billionaire French industrialist after all. The first of these is Scarpine, a guy with a big old scar across his face, and Scarpine is just kind of a loyal, solid henchman. Nothing really too special about him. Then there's Jenny Flex, played by Alison Doody, who was a go-to British actress over at Pinewood Studios, so they get all the go-tos, and she's another Indiana Jones veteran. But Jenny Flex, once again, does not do a whole lot. She literally just stands around for a bit, and then she gets drowned at the end. No. The hench person you are here to see, the hench person we are all here to see, is the inimitable Grace Jones as Mayday. She is so spectacular, I feel like I have to announce her like she's a game show prize. Yes, Mayday, one of the coolest hench people in all of James Bond. My go-to character when I play GoldenEye on N64. Mayday is straight up awesome. Grace Jones imbues her with just this ferocity and dangerousness, but also this seductiveness and professionalism. She covers all the bases. Mayday is also really good at climbing stuff and jumping off of stuff. In this film, she assassinates a guy with a fishing rod, and then she climbs to the top of the Eiffel Tower and parachutes off of it after doing a swan dive from the top to the horror of all the people below. Yes, Mayday was Assassin's Creeding before Assassin's Creed was a thing. They kept the death traps short and sweet in A View to a Kill. Max Zorin and Mayday trap Bond and Stacy inside an elevator in the San Francisco City Hall, and then they proceed to set both the elevator and City Hall itself on fire. A burning elevator. That's scary. You don't need anything more elaborate than that. And it leads to a great car chase involving a fire truck running rampant through the streets of San Francisco while James Bond holds on for dear life to the edge of the ladder. The best quote of the movie. I'm going to have to give this, of course, to Mr. Walken, who ends up doing something that I think we all take delight in whenever we hear it happen. You see, Max Zorin, being a French industrialist who couldn't possibly be an evil man whatsoever, owns blimps, because that's what rich people do. So on his way to flood Silicon Valley, he and Mayday and his team of hench people are flying in their blimp, and they arrive at San Francisco, where they can see through the cockpit the stunning vista of the Golden Gate Bridge and the azure San Francisco Bay and the city in the distance. It's spectacular. And Mayday says, "Wow, what a view." And Max Zorin finishes, "To a kill." And we at home are all like, "Oh, there it is. They said it. They said the name of the movie. That's it. That's it right there. He said the thing." Fortunately, there is nothing overtly problematic in A View to a Kill, other than the fact that I think, yeah, Stacey Sutton is a really lame character. Look, not every female character has to be this amazing, empowered warrior, because that would get boring and samey. People are different. Characters should be different. They should come from all walks of life. So I get it. You have this one character, Stacy, who is, not the sharpest tool in the shed and not very good at much of anything. It's just a shame here because we've gotten that a lot already in Bond, and it would have been nice to kind of, get somebody a little different. Again, she doesn't have to be Xena Warrior Princess, but give her some kind of cool personality trait or some kind of cool skill that we haven't seen before. That's all. So A View to a Kill gives us stunning James Bond adventure in San Francisco. and Paris, and a beautiful mansion where there's a horse auction going on that doesn't end up playing a part in the plot at all, even though they spend like an hour at this horse auction. You think this movie is going to be about horses until about an hour and a half in, when very abruptly it stops being about horses. And there's something weird about the pre-credit sequence, and I think maybe I should make this a problematic moment, because if you ask me, it is very problematic, is James Bond sort of inadvertently invents snowboarding while he's being chased by goons in Iceland, I believe. And he snowboards down a mountain, and when he does this, the directors, producers, and editors all somehow agreed that they should play a cover of California Girls by the Beach Boys. Just for a bit. Just for like 40 seconds while he snowboards, and then it's right back into the traditional John Barry sounding score. What? That scene does give us another cool glimpse of a 00 agent, though. Bond is searching for Agent 003, who disappeared, and lo and behold, he finds 003's body buried deep in the snow, and that's where he gets the microchip that kicks off this whole adventure. So once again, we see a 00 agent, but we don't see their face. One day my dream will come true. One day. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that this is the movie where it finally happens, folks. You finally get to see James Bond make a quiche. And let me tell you, this quiche looks magnificent. But just like this film itself, I have taken up too much of your time already, so that is A View to a Kill. It's definitely not the most perfect James Bond, but it is full of so much fun 80s cheese and Christopher Walken and a quiche that you can't help but just give it some love anyway. Tomorrow, on the Countdown to Bond 25, we move into territory that most would say they don't care for, but I would say I'm all in. We're talking Timothy, I don't think he's bad at all, as James Bond, Dalton. See you tomorrow when the Countdown to Bond 25 continues.